My name is Natalie Rector, and I work for Canadian Mental Health Association of New Brunswick. We are a national organization that has been around since 1918. So we've been around for a very long time. That being said, I'm thankful to say that I have not been around since 1918. Some days it may feel like it, but not today. So we have 18 locations provincially scattered out throughout New Brunswick. We have offices in Fredericton, and we have an office in Moncton and one in St. John. We also have people scattered throughout the province in the rural communities known as community education coordinators, of which I am one of them. We also have a peer support program, and we have an employment program called Working Stronger Together in Charlotte County. And we know how important it is for people with any barriers to employment to be able to find employment. It improves mental health, it improves your physical health, it reduces hospitalization, and it provides greater financial well-being and allows community integration. So that's a little bit about who we are. So today we are talking about depression in older adults and seniors. Depression can affect anybody, regardless of your age. So feeling good as you age. Senior depression can be treated. With the right support, treatment, and self-help strategies, you can feel better and live a happy and vibrant life. Now, I should do a little bit of homework before we get really deep into this. You'll notice on your screen at the bottom, there's a Q&A. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions in that. When we're completely finished the presentation, I'll go over to the question and answer segment, and I will attempt to answer any of the questions that you have. If I don't know the answers, and you can leave us your contact information, I'll do my best to get back to you with that information. But hopefully we can be of assistance right here tonight. The other thing is, at the close of this presentation, there is a survey, but you can only reach that survey once I close down the meeting. So if you would like to be part of that, we ask that you wait until I close the meeting to get there. So, as we said, senior depression can be treated. There are many different ways to treat it. Sometimes it's medication, sometimes it's having somebody to talk to, different self-help strategies. There are many different ways that depression can be treated. It's important to note that depression isn't a sign of weakness or a character flaw. Depression can happen to anyone at any age, no matter if your background or your previous accomplishments in life. There are very many very accomplished people, prominent people who live with depression. Physical illness, loss, and challenges of aging don't have to keep you down. Whether you're 18 or 80, you don't have to live with depression. There are options, there are treatments, there are organizations right in your community who would love to be able to help you. So the causes of depression in older adults and the elderly. As we age, we face significant life changes that can put us at risk for depression. Causes and risk factors that contribute to depression in older adults and elderly include health problems. As we, let's call it maturing, as we mature, things aren't always what they once were. We develop illnesses that maybe we didn't have when we were younger, maybe some disabilities, perhaps we have some pain, maybe it's arthritis or some other illness that can cause pain. A cognitive decline. So Our memories aren't what they used to be. Our hearing isn't what it used to be. Things just don't work the way they used to. And damage to the body image due to surgery or disease. So maybe we don't look the way we used to look. And that can cause some undue distress to us. Loneliness and isolation. So living alone, maybe your partner has deceased, or maybe your health doesn't permit you to live together any longer. A dwindling social circle due to deaths or relocation. Decreased mobility due to illness or loss of driving privileges. Those are all things that do a number on our psyche, and it can cause us to begin to feel depressed. So we have a reduced sense of purpose. Feelings of purposelessness or loss of identity due to retirement or physical limitations on activities. Sometimes we're very invested in our careers, and some of our identity is wrapped up in what we do as opposed to who we are. And when we feel like we don't have that purpose anymore, we can feel the loss. And it's almost a grieving process where you have to deal with the losses of the things that you once had. Sometimes even younger people, when their children move out and you go through that empty nest phase, that can cause depression. So changes in our life can very much bring on a depressive episode. So fears, fear of dying or death, anxiety over financial problems or health issues. Maybe you didn't work in a job that had a good retirement fund. You're not accustomed to living on a pension. These are all things that give us stress and can cause depression. And recent bereavements. So the death of friends, family members, and pets, or the loss of a spouse or partner. All major changes to our lives. So signs and symptoms of depression in the elderly. So we have sadness, fatigue. You've heard the old saying, you get up and go, just got up and went. And you just don't have the energy to get on and do the things that you think you should be doing. So abandoning or losing interest in hobbies or other pleasurable pastimes, things that you once really enjoyed doing, and now you could care less if you ever did them again. So social withdrawal and isolations, reluctance to be with friends, engage in activities, or leave home. And in this particular period where we're going through the coronavirus, there's a lot of social withdrawal, not necessarily even because we want to, but because we have no choice. And that can lead to a depression. Weight loss or loss of appetite. So you're not interested in eating anymore. Sleep disturbances. So difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. Or oversleeping or daytime sleepiness. So maybe I don't sleep at night and then I sleep the day away. Or maybe it's a form of escape and I just enjoy staying in bed because I have nothing else to look forward to. So a loss of self-worth, worries about being a burden, feelings of worthlessness, self-loathing. None of us want to become a burden on our children or on people that we once used to help, and now we feel like we're a burden when they have to help us. And sometimes we actually get angry at ourselves for not being able to do the things that we once did. So increase of alcohol or other drugs, and a fixation on death with suicidal thoughts or attempts. These are all signs and symptoms of depression in the elderly. So depression in the elderly without sadness. Older adults who deny feeling sad or depressed may still have major depression. Here are some of the clues to look for. Unexplained or aggravated aches and pains. Depression often manifests itself physically, and we feel the impact of depression in our bodies. So feelings of hopelessness or helplessness, anxiety and worries. So our anxiety and worries become much greater, and we almost become fixated on them. So memory problems, lack of motivation and energy, slowed movement and speech. Everything has kind of slowed down because the energy it takes in which to put things forward just isn't there. Irritability, loss of interest in socializing and hobbies, and neglecting personal care. When we just let things go, not really caring how we look any longer. So medical conditions can cause depression in the elderly. Things like Parkinson's, stroke, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, thyroid disorder, a vitamin B12 deficiency. That's quite common, actually. Dementia and Alzheimer's disease, lupus, and multiple sclerosis. Now, those are not the only conditions that can cause depression in the elderly, but they are some of the most common. Anytime that we have to deal with something that we feel is directly age-related can cause depression. In fact, thyroid disorder, many times people are put on mental health meds, and it is a thyroid disorder. Interesting, isn't it? So prescription medications that can cause or worsen depression. So things like blood pressure medication. And as we age, a lot of us are on blood pressure medication. Beta blockers for your heart, sleeping medication, tranquilizers, calcium channel blockers, medication for Parkinson's disease, ulcer medication, heart drugs containing Respirine, steroids, high cholesterol medications, painkillers and arthritis medications, and estrogens. And you'll notice that a lot of these medications are medications that a lot of us take as we age. So we have the age that can cause depression, but also some of the medications that we take to counteract some of the age-related illnesses that can cause or worsen depression. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it? But in spite of this, there are still things that we can do that help overcome depression. So is it depression or dementia? So symptoms of depression. A mental decline is relatively rapid. Knows the correct times, dates, and where they are. Difficulty concentrating. Language and motor skills are slow, but normal. And notices or worries about memory problems. So pretty much we're still functioning as normal, but things have slowed down a little. Everything is still working fine. It's just slowed down, okay? So symptoms of dementia. Mental decline happens slowly. Confused and disoriented. Becomes lost in familiar locations. Difficulty with short-term memory. Writing, speaking, and motor skills are impaired. And they don't notice memory problems or doesn't seem to care. So we've all met people maybe who share the same stories over and over and over, usually stories from childhood, but they have no recollection that they've ever shared that story before. But maybe they can't remember what happened yesterday or even this morning, because the short-term memory is a problem. But we can remember way back to when we were a child. So is it grief or depression? Distinguishing between grief and clinical depression isn't always easy since they share many of the same symptoms. However, there are ways to tell the difference. Grief is a roller coaster involving a wide variety of emotions and a mix of good and bad days. In fact, they say there are 7 stages to grief, but they're not linear. You don't go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. You may be here and you move back and you go forward and you move back. And so it's a roller coaster. Even in the middle of grieving process, you will have moments of pleasure or happiness. With depression, on the other hand, the feelings of emptiness and despair are constant. So some symptoms that suggest depression, not just grief. So intense, pervasive sense of guilt. Thoughts of suicide or preoccupation with dying. Feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness. Slow speech and body movements. Inability to function in your environment. And seeing or hearing things that aren't there, okay? So depression is one of the illnesses that if it's very severe, you can have psychosis that is involved with that. So that would involve seeing and hearing things that aren't there. That only happens if your depression is very severe. So helping a depressed senior. So the very nature of depression interferes with a person's ability to seek help, draining energy and self-esteem. It's very difficult to go out and seek help when you can't seem to get out of your own way. So for depressed seniors, raised in a time when mental illness was highly stigmatized and misunderstood, it can be even more difficult, especially if they don't believe that depression is a real illness, or they're too proud or ashamed to ask for assistance, or fear becoming a burden to their families. So thankfully today, things have changed somewhat, and we're able to talk about depression and other mental illnesses that in days gone by we couldn't talk about. But if we were born in days gone by, we may still be in that mindset that says it's not okay to ask for help. But I'm thankful that we live in a day that it is okay to ask for help. And there's no shame in saying, I'm struggling. If an elderly person you care about is depressed, you can make a difference by offering emotional support. Big thing is listening to your loved one. Listen to them with patience and compassion. You don't need to try to fix someone's depression. In fact, you can't fix someone's depression, but just being there to listen is enough. Don't criticize feelings expressed, but point out realities and offer hope. I always say hope is the greatest gift that you can ever give another human being, and it's absolutely free. Hope is the thing that allows you to believe in love. It allows you to believe in tomorrow. It allows you to believe that there's more to it than this. You can also help by seeing that your family member gets an accurate diagnosis and appropriate treatment. Help your loved one find a good doctor. Accompany them to the appointment and offer moral support. So, depression self-help for older adults and the elderly. When depressed, we may not want to do anything or see anybody. Isolation and inactivity only make depression worse. The more active we are, physically, mentally, and socially, the better we will feel. So things like exercise, connecting with others, getting enough sleep, maintaining a healthy diet, participate in activities that you enjoy, volunteer your time, take care of a pet, and learn of a new skill. So one thing I often talk about is something called the RED theory, R-E-D. And that really breaks down to rest, exercise, and diet. Those are three components that are absolutely essential to health, period. Physical health, mental health, emotional health, all health. Rest, exercise, and diet. So then when you couple that with connecting with other people, participating in activities that you enjoy doing, volunteering your time and taking care of a pet, learning something new. Oh, I love learning new things. I love to learn something new every day. And if I haven't learned something new, I feel like my day is wasted. It makes us feel good to learn new stuff. And if I dare say, if we can share what we already know with somebody who doesn't know, that makes us both feel good. So this was put together by the Canadian Mental Health Association. I would love to answer some questions for you. We have some contact information. We would absolutely love to hear from you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go to the question and answer section to see if there are any questions that you have for me. Okay. Cynthia Perry has her hand raised. Cynthia, if you have a question, could you type it in the question and answer? Thank you. Somebody said, excellent webinar, very informative, thank you. Do you have any resources for people who take care of the elderly? Kathy, in the chat section, there is an email address. If you would send an email to that address, they will forward it to me and I will send you some resources for, thank you for putting that in there. So that email address is in there. They will forward it to me and I will send you some resources. You're welcome. Just going to wait here for another moment to see if there are any more questions. Remember, if you wait until the very end when I close this, there will be a survey at the end that we would like for you to fill out to tell us what you thought of that. Okay, this one says, wow, that was fantastic information. My grandparents were not treated well by other family members, and I often thought they were both depressed. This seminar helped me realize I was right. Thank you for easing my mind. You're welcome. There are a lot of resources in our community. Get them involved. And you know, I don't know where any of you are from because this is, of course, a provincial webinar, but no matter where your community is, there are many resources out there that you can take advantage of. Okay. I'm just sliding down here. Okay, what can we do to help a senior, my parents who live in another province, especially during this time when getting them into a physician or counselor is difficult? Okay, so I'm not sure what province they are in, but here in New Brunswick, we have something called Addiction Mental Health Services, okay? There are still people working in that office. So in other provinces, there are people, maybe it's mental health services or maybe addiction mental health services, but I would definitely give them a call because you don't need a referral to go to them. Sometimes they do telephone interviews, what have you. But I would definitely contact them wherever that is, okay? The Nova Scotia killings are so sad that it's making me a bit depressed. That's totally understandable. Actually, I'm from Nova Scotia originally, so I totally get where you're coming from. It is very sad. Most likely that is situational and you need to be able to use some positive coping skills so that you don't fall into a depression. Maybe don't watch so much news because that's difficult and everything's laced with it right now. So should I subject line something specific to that email address so that it will get to you easily? Just tell them it's for Natalie. And in the subject line, if you put, well, in the subject line, put for Natalie, and then in the body of the email, just tell me the resources that you're looking for. That would be great. Okay, let's see if there's any more here. They're in Quebec. They have no family or close friends to where they live, so they're feeling very isolated. Yeah, I get that. I don't know, are they able to use technology at all? If they are, if you could do a video conference call with them, maybe a Facebook video chat, or Zoom is free to download. You can have 40-minute conversations. But it would be great if they could see and chat to somebody. And it's good to talk on the phone, but it's nice to see faces. Their friends live across the border in Ontario, and they're not very informed on how to use technology, example, FaceTime. Okay. You could, I mean, a telephone is great. If they can at least hear your voice, maybe if you could call them. I mean, it would be wonderful if they could see you. I get that, but in the absence of that, at least hearing your voice would be a wonderful treat for them. Makes them feel not quite so alone. I'm glad you enjoyed the information. So I attended a program through CMHA called Engaging Families in Recovery, yes, which was for caregivers of children with special needs or elderly. It ran for 10 weeks and was very good. I attended it in St. John at the Community Health Center. Yes, actually, I'm in the process session 8 next week. I'm doing with a group here in Miramichi, but that would be wonderful for people to take advantage of. Thank you. Engaging Families in Recovery. So if you contact the CMHA office closest to you, although all of us are working from home right now, we all check our voicemails. So somebody would get back to you about the possibility of an Engaging Families in Recovery. And right now I'm doing the Engaging Families in Recovery through Zoom. So there are ways that we can do these things. Okay, so I believe that is all of the questions. Maybe, yes. So I am going to take this opportunity. Is the Families in Recovery program something offered outside of New Brunswick? That is a mighty fine question. I'm not 100% certain, but what I would do, I would contact the CMHA in whatever province it is that you're looking for and ask them if they have that program. If they don't have that one, they may have something comparable, but I would definitely check with them. CMHA has many, many very good programs. You won't be disappointed checking them out. Okay. I think always nice to hear about offerings available elsewhere and to look at what we can potentially bring here if it does not already exist. Absolutely. I know CMHA is always interested in meeting the needs of the people in the community. They're very community-based. So I want to thank you all for attending. I don't want to cut anybody off. If there's any other questions, please feel free. Otherwise, I am going to close this meeting. And remember that there is a video at the oh my goodness, it's not a video. There is a survey at the end of this, once I close this, that I would really appreciate if you would fill out. Thank you all so very much. It's been wonderful chatting with you. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a great night.